Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is episode 9 of the Big Block Barracuda Blitz. And in today's video, I'm going to install a competition engineering 6-point roll bar. So let's get to it. Now, if you're new to the channel, this is my 1969 Plymouth Barracuda notchback. It's an A body, and this kit is actually from Summit Racing. You can see it listed under Moroso or Competition Engineering. Pretty sure Moroso bought out Competition Engineering, but it actually comes as an 8-point kit. So it's got the main hoop. Pardon the mess, folks. It's got the rest of the bars. You'll see some that are already pre-angled. These guys are the door bars, and a lot that already have notches built into them. Now, they all come long. Doesn't matter what kit you get, they all come a little bit long and they all need some custom fitting. And that's really how you want it, because depending on how you install it, you might need that length. Now, if you're new to the channel, please hit that button. I'm trying to get to 10,000 by the end of the year, which is my personal goal, and I'm cutting it close. This car is actually going up to Washington State in 12 days. So I don't have a lot of time to get this roll cage in. In fact, I'm trying to do this in 1 day. Might be 2. But 1 day is the goal. So I'm going to go ahead, jump into this, start taking some measurements, and show you how I like to install a roll bar. Now, my interior is already stripped. If you're watching this as a how-to, I would highly, highly suggest you do the same. Way easier than trying to install this with your interior still in place. All right, come on, baby, get in there. So the main hoop is sitting in the car. I've got the rear bar just kind of taped up there so everything stays in position for the moment. I've got it angled aft 9 degrees right now, just so I can perfectly line it up with that window separation for the fore and aft windows. That way it doesn't look like there's an extra bar when you're looking at it from the side. And then when you go to the trunk, this rear bar here goes just outside of the spare tire. You want it to get as close, if not right on top of your frame, which, as you can see, is right here. So it's just to the side. I'm actually not too worried about that. I want this bar to be in this position. What I'll do is I'll slide this underneath after I cut that to make it flush and then set it down officially. I might have to trim the edge of that speaker hole. Not a big deal. I think it's going to be just fine. May not even have to touch that at all. You got to keep these bars straight if you want to do any kind of like legal competition, whether it be SCCA or NHRA. You cannot incorporate a bend in the rear bars for competition. Do it in the street ride all you want, but got to be straight for competition. And since this has to be straight, that means my battery box has to move. And it's moved. All right, now I've got both of the rear bars mocked up, the position that I want them. Obviously, they're going to change slightly because I haven't cut those, which I will mark for right now. I'm also going to mark the square for the pad, which does overlap the frame underneath the floor pan or the truck pan. So that's good to go there. Rest of it is still looking pretty decent. That angle is going to drop ever so slightly. I mean, I could always adjust it. I haven't welded anything together, but I am going to push it back just a little bit so that it is directly in line with that trim piece. And looking in here, I'm going to also mark the circles for the main hoop, because I'm going to hole saw the floor and drop the whole main hoop down a good, I mean, I guess I can drop it as far as I want until it hits that package tray back there. But reason why I'm dropping this whole thing is so that I can get easy access to the top of those rear bars and make sure I get a complete weld all the way around. Plus I want to paint it, and I don't want to touch the headliner. It's in great shape. Now, while I get the bars out, I wanted to show you how I slightly tweak these plates. So this is the bottom plate for the main hoop. As you can see, I rounded that edge off. And if you go on the bottom side, I also bevel it. Barely, but you can see it right there. So I bevel the sides that touch the rear and the side of the car, and by that I mean right here. Oh, this one's already in place. So I round that point, otherwise if it's a sharp edge, it'll sit on this grade that comes up a little bit. And you'll have like a wobbly plate that doesn't really sit well. They never sit perfect. So I know some folks will box this whole corner in. That's super strong, cool. Not too concerned about that. So I've got this one beveled on this edge, and then rounded right there. And it's got a little bit of wobble, but looks like that corner. I might take that corner down a little bit, and then I'll put it in its place, mark around it, take it off, and then I'm going to clean all the paint off so I have clean metal to weld to. All right, so I got the bars cut. Had to turn the fan on. I was getting too much smoke here. Here's the chunk missing. Now I drew this line when I had the bars in the car. I just put a basically a 2x4 next to it so I can get a straight edge at the same angle as the floor. So it should not change the tube angle when I get it in. Of course, we will find out right now. All right, so got a little ahead of myself. Started moving a little fast. But as you can see, I've got the plates just tack welded in position. I mocked everything back up just like I said I was. Made sure every angle was great for the third time, and then decided, okay, I'll go ahead, make those permanent. You'll see the bars way high right now, and I will show you why. Put my Coke down. So I cut out those holes on the bottom of the floor, just like I told you I would. Currently the main hoop is sitting through it, but before I put it like this, I put the plate back in the corner. Same thing with the passenger side. You know, that way it was sitting up at the right angle, or the right height. And then I made sure all these angles were good. Whatnot, fitted again, like I just mentioned 3 times. And then I tacked this on. So you'll see the tape there, but I've got one tack there, one tack on the other side. Tacked that one as well. So this is good. Now I can go through and re-weld it. But you see, when I got the hole in the floor, dropped the main hoop down a good foot, look at how easily accessible these top bars are. To get a full weld all the way around the top, both sides. Got tons of room, not going to damage my headliner. In fact, I'm going to put cardboard up there just in case anyways. But this is going to make it really easy to get a full weld there. So I'm going to go through, weld these completely, both sides. And then I will raise the whole thing back up, slide those plates in position, and then next will be to tack in those plates. Remember, I'm trying to get this done super quick, just a single day. Throughout this video, if I don't show you something or you think I missed something, throw it in the comments. I'll either answer you there, or if it's something big, maybe I'll shoot in the video and show you how I did just that task. For now, I'm going to throw the welder back on and get to work. I realized that I'm not going to be able to do like a really cool video montage of me welding all the joints because my welder only has a 20% duty cycle and it is a 120 volts. So if I try to push that duty cycle, I'm not only going to blow my breaker, but I'm going to get really crappy welds. So I can only weld 20 minutes every hour and then I gotta let it cool down. I did get those top 2 done though, so let me show you. Well, definitely not the best. I mean, it is what it is. I would say I'm an average welder. You take an average welder and then a low-powered welding unit. Makes it difficult. I got one nice little bead there on the very bottom. I feel pretty good that these are at least penetrated and strong enough to save me if the car ever does roll. I'll upgrade the welder one of these days. For now, good old Lincoln's gonna have to do. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm using a flashlight, apart from just the direct light while I'm welding, I also can't run the garage lights when I'm welding because I'll just blow the circuit. So definitely need an upgrade. If anybody wants to sponsor me with a nice 220, I'm willing. All right, I'm gonna go ahead, bring this back up, throw those plates underneath the main hoop, get it all in position, and get ready so that I can tack weld it when the welder is ready. While I'm waiting for the welder to return to service, decided may as well go ahead and prime the whole top section. So I primed it, waiting a few more minutes, maybe 5-10 minutes, and then I'm gonna hit it with some flat black. So, just to make it look a little pretty. Okay, so the main hoop is now back in position with the plates on the bottom. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead, and while I've got it in its exact spot, again, checking 3 times, I've got it following directly in line with that window brake. While it's in this spot, I'm going to tack weld these down bars. Just throw like maybe 3 tacks on that plate as well as that plate. I'm purposely saving the main hoop floor support is for dead last, because I found if you weld that in first, or anywhere in the middle rather, it makes the crossbar a nightmare. So when I get the down bars tacked in, obviously the tops are already welded, I will then get the crossbar in place in case I need to spread it just slightly so I can get a nice tight fit. And then after the crossbar is in, at least tacked, then I can tack it in on the floor plates. Oh, and again, if you're doing this or watching this as a how-to, it is totally normal for it to warp slightly. You know, even though it's thicker steel, you're still welding, it's still getting super hot, and then when it cools, sometimes it pulls. A good example, as you can see, I've got maybe 1/2 inch right there, and maybe 1/4 inch right there. So it moved a little bit when I was welding the tops. Again, I'm not too concerned about it. That plate is covering the rear frame rail. The rear frame is just offset right here. That's still going to be plenty strong. I'm happy with it. And here it is welded. Now, I said I was going to tack it. I lied. Just went to town on it. The welder was cooperating with me at the moment. It did start barking at me, so I had to stop. But I got some pretty decent penetration for 120 especially. So I'm happy with that. I'm not completed with this one. I still got the back side a little bit. I can't do it in one full swing. The welder starts yelling at me. Plus, you know, it's difficult to get that proper angle on the MIG gun so that you've got a nice bead going all the way around. But regardless, that's still looking good. Everything's still in position. So I'm going to let the welder cool off. I will then finish that guy. And then I'll probably go through and, well, before I tack this, I need to tack the plates on inside the cab. So that's what I'm going to do. All right, so I have welded in the pads. That pad over on the driver's side is completely welded. This one is tacked in, as you can see. Just do a couple short beads to hold it in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and install the crossbar. You know, competition engineering and really honestly any kit you get, they're going to give it to you longer. And obviously you want that as opposed to being short. This one is pretty significantly longer. It's like, I don't know, 7 inches by my eye. So I'm going to go ahead, and this is the furthest point, so I'll cut it here, and then I will notch it so that I can fit it within the main hoop. One of the things I really wanted to show you was, you know, I don't have that fancy jig to make the right cuts for pipes. You know, if I did this a lot more often, maybe I'd invest in it. Instead, I just have to make my own divots and correct angles within the pipes via an angle grinder. So instead of sitting here for 30 minutes with a flap disc to try to grind that out, what I do is I set the right contour with just a cutting wheel. As you can see right there, my pyramid, this is where I need to cut away. Same thing on the bottom. So I'll now take the angle grinder, cut some of those knobs off to give myself the rough shape, and then I'll go through with the flap disc to smooth it out so that I can actually install it. I found that this saves me at least a good 15 minutes for each of these that I do. You know, I end up with something like this. Real quick and easy. It's not perfect, but if I can do this one-handed here, it is decent enough for me to get a full weld around, so I'm happy with it. Alright, so the crossbar is in position. This is the best part about building a cage, a roll bar in this order, where you don't weld on the main hoop feet until the very last step. So right now, this is sitting in here. It's pretty sturdy, and I don't have any welds in. Right, I was able to kind of spread the main hoop just slightly so that I could get this to fit nice and snug. Now I can do my measurements, make sure it's in the right spot. I don't have to worry about it slipping, holding it, whatever. I'll be able to weld it worry-free, essentially. So Make sure you do it in the right order. Your life will be easy. All right, so it's day 2. There's just no way I could get all that welding done in a single day, given the fact that I can only weld 20 minutes and then let it sit for 40, sometimes 30. But I've got the 4-point set up thus far, completely welded in. So let me show you. Now, I am by no means a professional welder, but I feel like the penetration's pretty decent to where if ever needed, these welds would hold and save my life. So I've got the pads completely welded, the feet completely welded now. Same thing on that side. That side of the crossbar is welded in. Pretty decent penetration. Same thing with the rear bars. So, like I said, I feel pretty good about it. It is 100% not perfect, but it'll hold. Now, next is the door bar. And this is where, folks, really, you got to pay attention depending on what type of racing you're doing. If you're doing NHRA, at least according to the 2025 rule book, you can do a 5-point, which is just the single door bar on the driver's side as the bare minimum. If you're doing SCCA racing at all and you have a cage in the car, you have to make sure that the passenger and driver's side mirror each other. So even though a 5-point could technically get me through all the way down to 10 seconds, legal with NHRA, because I'm going to race this car on the Global Time Attack circuit for 2026, it's got to meet SCCA regulations, so I do have to put in a passenger bar. Makes it a little bit difficult, but not too worried about it. Now, I do have 2 door bars and 2 additional bars for an 8-point setup. You know, this is an 8-point cage. Not going to use those 2 additional bars. Where those would go is basically tying up right here where the crossbar is, down to your subframe connector. Some people will put it right there. Some will put it on the trans tunnel. It's really your preference. I still want to be able to use the back seat to a degree, little kids kind of deal. So I'm not going to do 8-point. I'm just going to do a 6-point. But my situation is a little bit more complicated than most. Reason being is I've already got J-bars. I've got the dash bar, and I'm tying both of those into the subframe connector down below. So if I were to just attach the door bar to the floor, like a normal 6-point setup, I would still have a weak point in the car to where if I got into a heavy front-end collision, that dash bar would roll back and possibly take out my legs. So I need to tie this door bar into the dash bar, or at least that vertical that connects to the subframe. So let me show you. Again, competition engineering, they give you these bars super long, so this isn't going to look quite right when I mock it up, but I'll cut it to fit. So here is the door bar. They give it to you super long. This is the only bar you'll find in the kit that does have a integrated bend. And this is not really so that you can dip it down and over. It's more so, if I turn it this way, so it can come out closer to the door, around the seat, and then down. So I'll make sure to mark that appropriately and go from there. Normally, this would kind of be angled as such and go down to the floor. Again, you can see I've got that dash bar vertical right there, so I need to tie it into the bar. I'm going to go somewhere right there. Now, looking back at the main hoop, most folks will just attach it close to where the crossbar is because you're kind of safe there, but there is an actual rule specification on where you can mount this door bar. It has to go, according to 2025 NHRA, which this does work for SCCA as well, it has to go between your shoulder and the bottom of your elbow of your left arm with your hands on the steering wheel at 3 and 9. So I've already had the seat inside the car. I sat down. I measured where my elbow and my shoulder were at. It just has to connect anywhere within that range. Don't let the text tell you otherwise. It doesn't have to be in the dead middle. It just has to be within the range, shoulder to elbow. I actually marked right here. This is my elbow point. So I have to be from here up to a little bit above the bend. So this is my range of where I can connect this door bar. I'm going to try to go as low as possible, not to piss off the techs or whatnot, but just so that I can easily access the car, because I have to make this match on both the driver's side and the passenger side. I want to make sure the passengers can get in. Because I'm 6'3" and I've got super long arms, it's a little bit easier for me. If you're on the shorter side and you got to sit closer to the steering wheel, then you're going to have to go up on the bar. So here's the door bar on the bench. As you can see, I'm going to cut it right here, not because this is the exact spot where I need to cut it, but because it is just too long for me to even mock up in position. If I cut that much off, I can take it back, figure out where I really need to cut for precise measurements, and then go from there. All right, so I went ahead and cut this one. I've got to notch it a little bit more. There's still some air gaps there, but you can see the bend is going away from the main hoop a little bit, which is going to give me some room on the seat. The other half of this is just chilling on the ground, a little bit too long, maybe about an inch or so, and it's just to the side of that vertical. So I am going to connect it to the vertical maybe an inch up from that, which is still going to give me nice strong connection, be low enough to jump in and out of the seat with no problems. And of course I've got plenty of material there to notch that end. So I'm going to go ahead, notch that end, and see how it fits. Here's a better angle to see what kind of angle I'm working with over there. You can see it does dogleg over to the left, which means this door bar will push away from the main hoop a little bit and give the seat some extra room. I just marked the top of this. That way I know what direction to notch this. Again, just work with an angle grinder, get it close enough, and then I'll melt it all together. Ooh, and it fits like a glove too. This isn't actually its location. Let me get that aligned. Oh, I kind of need two hands. Maybe one hand can do it. Right there. So about an inch off the ground. This dog leg kicks out a little bit just so I can get the seat in, no problem. And then over to the main hoop right there. All right, I'm gonna get it tacked in. In fact, I'm just gonna weld this damn thing. I got time. All right, it is welded in. Oh, you know what? It is not done. Forgot that inside. Never mind. All right, that was officially the hardest spot I've had to reach in this whole build. Here's what I got. It looks pretty ugly, but I finally got it. If you want to grade that side, nice solid F right there. Maybe C minus. But the rest of it's pretty good. I'll take it. Now, jump on the passenger bar. Whatever you do, if you're doing the same deal where you got both bars, don't take the first one and then just cut the second bar to match, because they could be a 1/4 inch off. You don't know. Make sure everyone's custom fit. Ooh, I'm on a roll. Check out the very first time I mocked up the passenger bar. Dun, dun, dun. Exactly where it needs to be. I gotta, twist it slightly just until I can tack in place, but as far as its position compared to driver, it is dead nuts on. Oh, it's nice for once. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and get it welded up. Well, cage is done. With the exception of all the filings that I've got to address, I'm gonna go ahead and paint the cage that flat black. See if I can get it to you from a different angle. Yeah, this side's a lot better. So I am super happy with this roll bar. Now, if you're looking at this thinking, wait a minute, something looks a little bit off. Well, yeah, you're right. And it's not the roll bar. The roll bar is perfect. If you're trying to put this in your car, you can do exactly what I did here with the roll bar. Just keep in mind the tips that I mentioned. The questionable part I have now with this car is I still have sort of a hazard right here if I got into a massive front end collision. We're talking 100 miles an hour to a wall. And that is that I still have a lever arm that would push that dash bar down onto my legs. What I should do, or let me not say should, what I could do is I could put a gusset right here or an extra bar from here up to the top, because the top is where that lever is the strongest. I'm not going to do that for now. I'm going to keep it just as it is for the future in case I want to complete the cage. So, I've got the roll bar there. I could put the forward bars or the forward hoop and then the down bars by the A-arms and to attach either into that vertical for the dash bar or into the down bar and then have it gust in between. That would completely erase that concern. Again, I don't care right now. I think this is just fine. This is super strong and sturdy. Apart from the cage, I've also got the US car tool kit in this. So I feel very confident that this car is freaking solid. And I bet you it's probably still around like maybe 3,200 pounds with the cage, with everything I've done to this car, even the iron heads on that 493. I bet you this car is super lightweight. I'll throw it on the scales so we can actually see for sure, but 3,200 pounds is my guess. That's full interior. What's up next is I'm going to go ahead, scuff up the whole floor. I'm going to Raptor line this so that I can kind of have some sort of sound deadening, right, without adding a ton of weight with putting, you know, Kilomat or Dynomat, whatever the stuff is. I'm not doing that. I'll do the Raptor liner, which is just bed liner if you're not sure what that is. And then I'll go ahead and put the carpet without insulation in there. 10 days from today, this bad boy is going to be on my trailer, and I'll be driving up to Washington State. You know, I mentioned it in the last video, but this reveal in 10 days, where I'm going to show my grandfather the car finally after a decade, it's easily the largest milestone that I have hit or will hit in my automotive career to date. This is what it's all about, right? This was my great-grandmother's car, passed down to my grandfather, who was going to see the car soon, who then gave it to my dad, who mistakenly sold it in '89. I got it back 2014, so I'm so excited to show him this car, give him a ride in it, and it wouldn't be complete without a burnout. So until next time, everybody, appreciate you watching.